Whose responsibility is it to stop a fight? The Raquel Pennington situation is really interesting because it's a fighter who basically said, I'm done, and then her cornerman saying, no, you're not done. And I know we've seen fighters give up before, and their cornerman being just like, sure, okay, we got you, we got your back. And then there's been fighters who have said like, oh, like, I don't know if I have what it takes to beat my opponent. People who've looked like they're done. But we've never had a situation where a fighter just straight up says, like, I'm done, I have nothing left to give. Like, she basically quit. If she told that to the referee would have called off the fight. But instead, her coaches pressed Pennington. Instead, her coaches pressed her and said, no, like, you can't give up. Like, don't give up now. And I don't want to use the word forced because they didn't force her to continue. She's an adult. She can make her own decisions, but they put a lot of pressure on her to continue fighting. And I don't know the relationship between Raquel Pennington and her corner, which is why I don't want to talk about the specifics of this incident, but it does bring up a wider issue of what are coaches' responsibilities and who is there to protect a fighter. Because at the end of the day, the only person whose actual job it is to protect a fighter is a referee's. So it's interesting that there hasn't been more focus put on the referee in that situation, Mark Goddard, to have stopped the fight when Pennington obviously didn't want to continue. Which is why I said if Goddard heard what Pennington said to her corner, he might have stopped the fight. Although he could have stopped the fight a little earlier. There's a lot of people that have argued it's Raquel Pennington's job to look out for her own safety. Like I said before, she's an adult. She can stop the fight if she wants. She could have started the 5th round, simply tapped the ground, and that's it. But there's a lot of pressure on a fighter. And a lot of times, if you're in that type of high combat situation, if you're caught in the moment like that, you might not make the best decision. You shouldn't put somebody who's being heavily influenced by others, by the heat of the moment, by emotion, and who could possibly be concussed to make a decision that is in their best interest. Which is why I feel that on a technical level, no, coaches aren't responsible for their fighter. It's the job of the fighter and the job of the referee more so to look out for the safety of the person. But that doesn't mean that what Raquel Pennington's coaches did on Saturday night, that was the right decision. I think ultimately it turned out to be the wrong decision, but again, that's looking at it in hindsight. Had Raquel Pennington come out in the 5th round and somehow knocked out Amanda Nunes, they would have been seen as a genius corner. They would have been praised. So again, we're looking at it in hindsight, which is a lot tougher. But I gotta think that if you're a coach and you know your fighter, and if you as a coach can't go into that 5th round with actual advice other than just telling the person not to give up, then maybe you might want to cut your losses. You may want to just say, okay, we don't have anything to improve on in the 5th round. We can't give her actual advice to win this fight. So far, technique-wise, she's just getting obliterated. Yeah, you could get a Hail Mary win, but I feel like you got to cut your losses at that point. And it's a tough situation. These people get paid based on performance. The coaches get paid based on performance. Of course, the fighter gets paid based on performance. And if Raquel Pennington became champion, the amount that she would earn would increase substantially. So this video isn't to really outline exactly who's right and who's wrong in this situation. It's more so just to put out some talking points. What what is the right answer? What are a coach's responsibilities? And each coach is going to have a different personal opinion, and I'm sure we're going to see coaches on Twitter, just on social media in general, and interviews start talking about this more. Because there's been some recent examples of coaches who should have stepped in, who shouldn't have stepped in. One that I remember is when Paige Van Zandt broke her arm. And the question was, oh, should she continue or not? And she told her corner, like, oh yeah, like, my arm's broken. And I was screaming at the TV, being just like, please stop the fight. Paige Van Zandt winning one fight or losing one fight, that's not going to impact her career. That might impact other people's careers in a huge way, but Paige Van Zandt, she's going to be fine. She's young. It's okay. But to possibly have a broken arm, continue fighting, and possibly damage that arm even further, possibly to the point where instead of you being out for maybe 4 months, 6 months, you're now out to a year. You're now out for 2 years. Your arm's now permanently damaged, doesn't heal correctly because there was so much damage after the fact when it was already damaged. I don't think you can hold the fighter responsible for that. Fighters are fighters for a reason. They're risk takers. It's not logical to want to fight for a living. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. There's very high risk, low reward other than the top 1%. Fighters will take these type of risks. You have to have somebody who intervenes, who is looking out for the well-being of the fighter. And like I said before, that is the ref's responsibility, but it should also be the coach's responsibility. It's why the best example of somebody throwing in the towel in MMA so far has been Nick Diaz to his brother Nate, somebody who actually cares. I mean, the Diaz bros are as tough as they come, and yet Nick Diaz saw his brother getting beaten up in a situation where he knows his brother well. He was just like, nope, Nate's not coming back from that. He's going to get hurt. He could be seriously hurt here. Throw in the towel. Who cares about the win bonus? Who cares about the pride? I care for my brother. Get him out of there. Maybe the coaches cared about her well-being. Maybe they knew that Raquel Pennington would beat herself up if she gave up after the 4th round. But just watching the fight, you had to have known that she had nothing left. And fighters say a lot to their corner that they won't say to a referee because they trust their corner. And you got to think that when a fighter is telling their corner, I give up, they're secretly hoping on the inside that, because they don't want to make the decision, they don't want to look weak, they don't want to look vulnerable, that their coach, that their team is gonna take the blow for them, is gonna say, all right, stop, we are interjecting and saying that this person can't continue. It's a really interesting argument. There's many sides to it. Fighters are tough as hell. I give all the props to Raquel Pennington. I mean, she's as tough as they come, and it was her decision in the end to continue fighting. But at some point, you need somebody to interject and say, okay, you're not going to fight anymore. If your heart's not in it, if your mind's not in it, if you've already been mentally broken along with physically, I mean, what more can you ask for? It was the perfect culmination of a fighter being broken mentally and physically to the point where it should have been a corner stoppage. I can't think of a better example of where a corner was given a fighter that couldn't continue. I would like to see what Raquel Pennington herself says in the next couple of days, what her corner says in the next couple of days, because this is a conversation that isn't going to end at Raquel Pennington and wasn't started at Raquel Pennington either. This has been a long-going issue. So what are your thoughts? Comment down below. Should Raquel Pennington's corner have stepped in? What do you think is the role of coaches in MMA? Is it beyond technique? Is it beyond advice? And are they responsible for the health and safety of the fighter? Or is that the referee's job? Thanks for watching, and enjoy the trail.